Good evening, everyone. This is Kathy L. Murphy, and I'm reporting from my little cabin in the woods called Murphy's Law. And I'm here tonight with my co host and author, Robert Gwaltney. And Robert posted today on Facebook. I want to share this big note. He has a cover for his book, The Cicada Tree, that's going to be coming out January 21st. Is that correct?
Hmm.
And it's going to be our January lead pick for our International Public Queens and Timber Guys Book Club Reading Nation, and it's gorgeous. I am still partial to the other one, the first cover I saw, but I have to say this is absolutely eye-catching, and it will probably jump out on the bookshelves much better. So, are you excited about your book?
I am very excited about it. It's really not that terribly far away. Um,
No, it'll be here
it'll,
before you know it.
it'll be here before you know it. And it's so odd to be in a place where a lifelong dream of yours is about to come true, to have a novel published. So it's exciting. I'm very grateful.
I'll tell you, I remember very much when my first book came out, and it's almost a shock because I was 42 when my first book came out, and it was published. Well, it was originally picked up by Time Warner, which was bought out by Hachette, so it became Grand Central. So it was one of the big five, and they did everything. They sent me to Book Expo, and I signed over 500 books, and it was exciting until I got back to my hotel room, and they already were putting them up for sale on eBay, the advanced copies that I signed. I was very disconcerted. I can't believe people just do that, but they do. So just a warning on that. But we're very excited about your book. And I don't know about you. You said you've been having thunderstorms. We have too. And I don't, you can't tell, but I've been dealing with a cold or sinus or something because I've got this tickle in my throat, my eyes. I can't keep eye makeup on because my eyes are just, I've tried the allergy medicine and it makes me feel worse. So just struggling my way through this weird sinus, cold weather. This is the strangest time I think I've ever seen a summer because it's rained every day. Has it rained every day there?
Yes, there's been quite a lot of rain. The last 2 days, it's been fairly dry, but a little cooler than normal. Now today, it's hot as blue blazes here in Atlanta, Georgia. But yeah, I mean, I think we've had like 2 weeks straight of rain.
I spent my summers of my youth lifeguarding at the country club, then later in college at the state park. And I remember I used to pray that it rained because I'd get off. It never rained. It never rained. And it would get up to 115. And I'd be at the pool from, swimming lessons in the morning, then 1 to 8 every day. And but now my whole woods has become overgrown so much that the light isn't even getting in. And it's the craziest thing. It is just like nature has taken over. So I'm thinking about this film, and I couldn't remember when it was set, but I was thinking it was summer, Barefoot in the Park, right? Well, I watched it again this week, and I was in hysterics over Jane Fonda because she's delightful in it. Her husband plays this attorney who's very accommodating for her, but at times exasperated. And it's Robert Redford. And it begins with them, the infamous horse-drawn carriage ride through Central Park, taking them to the Plaza Hotel, which is if you've never been there, everybody has to go. Such an iconic place. It's like Grand Central Station all the time there, right off of Central Park. But they go to their room for 6 days and they never come out. And I just think,
What were they doing in there?
well, the newspapers were piling up. But what I was thinking to myself, that doesn't happen anymore. The way people got married and began their lives with each other, it's, people might take a honeymoon, but it's not, they're already so familiar with each other that, it's just like a vacation. It's not like a true, but this movie was wonderful because she surprises him with this crazy apartment that she's moved into, which I have a lot of friends that live in New York. And if you've ever been in the apartment, that apartment was huge
It
because
was huge.
most of the
A
apartments,
5-story walk up.
yeah, well, that is pretty much normal. But to get that big of a space and to have, for a first apartment, and what did they pay? Was it 75? Was it?
It was ridiculous.
I was just going, oh my gosh, because now an apartment like that would probably be thousands and thousands of dollars a month. And it was fun. It was a fun movie to watch. It was entertaining. And it was also a time when this was set in the 60s. And this was actually, I think, prior to when the latter 60s, when we started getting into more, Woodstock and free love and everything. It was back when people set up their homes, and they had a plan that they were going to, eventually get their own home, probably outside the city. But the characters in this movie were priceless. And the upstairs neighbor who lived in the attic was my, of course, favorite character.
Of course. You are the female Victor Velasco.
I thought if I had enough time, I thought, oh, I would have channeled that guy, because those little eel bites were just, you just pop them. I was going, there's no way I would eat an eel bite at any temperature. I'm not very experimental that way, but I loved his apartment and how he got to it. It was, for those who have not seen the film, he lives on the 6th floor, which is the attic. And the only way into it is there's a steel ladder going straight up into a whole, door in the floor to climb up into it. But he locks himself out. And in the movie, when he first meets the young couple that moved into the apartment, he has to go out their bedroom window to go across the roof to get into his apartment. And her husband is totally freaking out because the top of their apartment is a skylight, and the very middle pane, and I think I heard him say a rat went through the skylight is how the hole happened.
Right.
There's a hole right in the middle of the room that, and it's winter. It's snowing, it's raining, it's whatever. And there it is right in the middle. And it'd been there since the 40s is what I recall. And I just think, I have to tell you, when I go to a city, doesn't matter where it is in the world, I want to see how people live. And my favorite thing to do when I was in New York was to meet people and then say, can I see your apartment? And I remember this one girl that was a book rep. She shared with another roommate. The bathtub was in the center of the kitchen, and it had a fold down surface that went over the top of it, and that made it into their dining room table. And I was thinking, you mean you have to bathe in the middle of your house out in the open?
But doesn't everyone?
I was just like, and then he goes, where's the bathtub? And she goes, well, there's a shower. And somewhere along the line, I guess it's because I've lived in some houses that had some pretty fabulous showers, I quit taking baths. I don't know why, but I can't sit there that long. It makes me anxious. So I want to get in and get out, but I like those really big ones with the waterfalls and, all that stuff. But it was funny, and the amount of clothes, and they did a lot of drinking in this film. And I mean, for a young couple, it was some pretty heavy duty stuff. They were drinking vodka and scotch and martinis and then ouzo, which is ouzo. Isn't that Greek? Have you ever had that Greek drink?
I've never had that.
I actually had it when I was in Greece, and I had to water it down because it's kind of got a little bit of a licorice taste, but the first sip of it will literally knock your socks off. So they what they do is they pour it over ice, and then as the ice melts, it dilutes.
Mm.
It's pretty strong stuff. It's kind of like the Japanese have the sake, and that if you've ever had that too, that's a acquired taste, I think.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
they're
So
drinking.
this so
Mhm.
this 1967 film starring Jane Fonda and Robert Redford, it was based on a play written by Neil Simon in 1963.
Yeah, I love everything Neil Simon does because it's everyday stories that he makes the most entertaining thing possible. I think everything that Neil Simon that has ever done. And I was talking to you about Neil Simon movies, but I'd forgotten that he did this one. And I'm actually watching another series on Netflix on Bob Fosse and Gwyneth Herndon. Um, during the time of all their Broadway musicals, it stars Michelle Williams and
Yeah,
Sam Rockwell.
it's wonderful.
It's one of the best shows I've seen on Netflix as far as the acting and the storytelling
Yeah.
is pretty
And
incredible.
they recreate all those wonderful iconic musical moments from the movies. There's I think it opens with Sweet Charity, and then they do that wonderful um, pass where they're doing the big number from Cabaret.
Right. And they've got Roxy and they've got, you know, the thing about Michelle Williams is she's like a chameleon. She's kind of like Meryl Streep. She can take on those character roles so that you forget that it's Michelle Williams. She doesn't look like herself in when I think about all the movies I've seen her in, from Maryland to Brokeback Mountain to, I'm trying to think of some of her others. She is so different in every one of her films. She makes wise, really wise choices. And I've been kind of watching that Sam Rockwell since I saw him in a Dippy movie. I, sorry, Charlie's Angels, with Drew. I love Drew Barrymore, is why I watched it. But he played a bad guy, and he did this dance scene in it.
Yeah, I think well he does bad guys well. I first remember him from the film Green Mile.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think he was a prisoner. I think he was a prisoner in
He
that
was,
film. It's great.
yeah, and he's kind of like, to me, I was telling my daughter, he reminds me of, have you ever seen Dwight Yoakam act?
Yes, Sling Blade.
Oh my gosh. Dwight Yoakam, in every film I've ever seen him in, he can play the darkest, scariest people I've ever seen. And then I love his music. And he looks so different on stage than he does because they make him, bald. Well, he is bald, but you
Right.
never know because he never takes off that hat. But that's the wonderful thing about the movies. And this movie is, you get so caught up in the story that I really felt like I was watching this young couple's, life just kind of, they're trying to figure everything out. Of course, everything's either it's all over, we're getting a divorce, or I love you, my darling, and they just making out like mad.
Right.
I laugh so hard at these characters, but I think Jane Fonda and Robert Redford have stayed fit. They did. Was it called The Electric
Horseman.
Horseman? They've done several things together, and he he's a very interesting guy. But he has not. But you know what? Own it. He has not aged well, but own it. He, I think, is probably a pretty nice guy. So what was your favorite moment from the film?
I mean, I love the moments when they're when the entire cast is together. The whole Albanian restaurant
That
scene.
that was the best. And
That's
when
just
they're
there.
bringing out, and the mother is, and she fell down the stairs. He said, "Let me take your arm." She goes, "Oh no, I can do it." She went all the way down to the bottom, and then I don't want to give away anything, but her daughter can't find her the next day, and Aunt Hazel is saying, "Where's your mother?" And I laughed so hard. But look at how the mother looked. Now she was in her 50s, okay? So she was probably 10 years younger than I am now. But look how she looked. I mean, the man didn't look quite as old, that the next door neighbor that said he was 58, but I look at her and she just looked like she was her grandmother,
Yeah.
because she had the, I don't know, something about those pin curl sets and those drab clothes, shapeless drab clothes. I mean, she was, if you looked at her face, she was very pretty in person. I think that was one of my favorite parts. And then I also love the part when she said, tell him how she was an actress and how she was in, I don't know, was it Guess Who's Coming to Dinner or something? He goes, "I had no idea your mother was an actress." And she's just going on and on. And he goes, "Oh, wait, you're making this all up." She goes, "Yeah, I am." I just thought, oh, I just want to hang out with that girl. She's the life of every party. And
Corey, yeah, the life of the party, and then Paul Bratter, played by Robert Redford, her husband, who's um, an attorney, growing his career and a bit of a stick in the mud, but they really balance each other. And I think that's the whole theme of the film, really the challenging dynamics of relationships and
well,
young
you
couples.
get two people like her, that could be a real catastrophe. Somebody's got to be the rock, and somebody's got to be the kite that's tethered down to the rock. She's flying all over the place, and um, he's keeping his wits about him. And it's a sweet movie, and Neil Simon is always in everything that he does. He always has that poignant moments where it's like an innocence of a time that you don't see anymore. I kind of miss that. Miss the new love, blooming, and now everybody's so used to each other by the time they actually get in a relationship. I mean, they've already got everything for their home, everything, the two cars, I don't think there's that moment where they, are actually planning out their lives together. It's just accruing more of what they've already got. That was sweet. It was, and I enjoyed it immensely. I enjoyed the clothes, the clothing, and notice again who was the costume designer for that film.
I don't remember who was the costume designer.
Edith Head.
Edith
Edith
Head.
Head. I'm telling you, every time you see a movie where the costumes are so incredibly iconic, in fact, in that Fosse and Harridan show, I don't know who's doing the costumes for that, but they are meticulous in much the way Mad Men, when that
Yes.
series came out and everything, of how they even, my favorite point in, I don't know if you watch the series, but in Mad Men was it had the family, the John Hamm's family going to a park for a picnic, and before they left, he scrunched up his can and threw it on the ground. And it just paused for just a minute, but it went on. This was before we had the, don't litter. And I just thought, oh my gosh, how far we have come. If anybody threw a can on the ground today, they'd be shot.
Absolutely.
There were a lot of great quotes in the film too. I really, loved the language of the next, the upstairs neighbor and the mother, and the fact that her friend said, I'll just drive around the block and honk when it's time to go, because there's never any parking in New York. But just driving around the block is a deal in itself. And have you been to New York?
Oh gosh, it's been a very long time since I've been to New York, but it's I need to get back there.
Yeah, Broadway's opening up. I would love to get back myself. There's certain places that I just love to go. And now that I've watched that whole show of it, it makes you nostalgic. Now, I have to say, though, I feel sorry for those horses now on Central Park. To me, it's so crowded and cramped, and it's hard for me to as seeing it romantic anymore, because it just seems hard on the horses standing in the sun all day long. And
Yeah, I don't like to see horses drop.
even in Jackson Square in New Orleans, it's the same way. I was just like, I don't want to take a ride because I don't want to make the horse work.
I know. Well, yeah, exactly. And I know that I suppose, well, it's antiquated. There's really no need to have horses pull us around today. Um, so
Still
I'm
have people that pull you around today too.
I'm a little bit troubled, anytime I see that.
It just makes me extremely uncomfortable. I think use your legs and walk it out. So
you were talking about quotes. There's that wonderful moment where Ethel Banks, who's played by Mildred Natwick, so she says, I had to park the car 3 blocks away. Then it started to rain, so I ran the last 2 blocks. Then my heel got caught in a subway grating. When I pulled my foot out, I stepped in a puddle. Then a cab went by and splashed my stockings. If the hardwood store downstairs was open, I was going to buy a knife and kill myself.
She was priceless. And she was exasperated, but she never got angry, which I found really sweet. She just was exasperated. And when in that pencil skirt, she had to go up that staircase to the neighbor so he could have, what was it, Nietzsche?
Yeah, Nietzsche. Yeah.
Oh, that was so funny. And she
had to sit on the floor. Of course, she has a bad back. She has to sleep on a board.
And that bed in that closet was, it was, what they call it, a twin. It was a different kind of twin. It wasn't she said, you don't have a full-size bed? Oh no, we have. Well, where's your husband? Oh, we sleep in the same bed. I'm thinking, oh my. But these kids weren't poor. They were having Bloomingdale's deliver and furniture being delivered. And she never seemed to be in want of anything. So not like most struggling people that go to New York to get an apartment and be there for a while. But yeah, what's the first thing you do when you go to New York?
Check into the hotel.
Well, my first thing I do is I head down to half price theater ticket sales, and I figure out what plays and what musicals I'm going to see. The last time we went, I think we saw 5.
Wow.
5. And I took my Pulpwood Queens. This is how long ago it was. I took my Pulpwood Queens, and I took Lainey and who was a senior in high school, and Lainey, who was a senior in college, and Madeline, who was a senior in high school, as their senior kind of graduation gift. And we went to 3 plays and 2 musicals, and it was so much fun. And we did just everything you can think of that you do in New York, Central Park and all the, theater district, and I think the girls one day wanted to go to Coney Island, but we just ran out of time. There's just so much to do. You could spend a month there and never cover
Yeah.
everything, but it's really
And
a lot of fun.
and their apartment was in Greenwich Village,
Yeah, yeah.
which was very bohemian for them.
Which, if I was going to live in New York, that's where I want to live. Soho is cool too, but it's a little too upscale. It's too rich. I mean, you have to be really well-to-do to live in Soho. I think there's places you could. The coolest places I've ever been to has been in the Village, but I went to Amy Tan's house one time in Soho. She has that home, and then she has her home out in, what is it, San Francisco or California. But my friend Kathy Kamen Goldmark started this band called the Rock Bottom Remainders. And she said, oh, come over. Her husband, Sam Barry, was going to be there, and Dave Barry was going to be there, and a bunch of celebrities that were going to be in the band. And she goes, I want you to do my hair. And I remember we went to the home. It was pretty good size for and it was on ground level, which that impressed me. But it took forever to get there, and then it took forever to get back. And I'm thinking that if you're trying to get taxis anymore, Ubers or whatever, it's really getting to be tough, because especially when you come out of the theater district. I always ended up walking back to my hotel because I got tired of waiting in line for a taxi. And New York never sleeps, so you can walk anywhere, and there's always tons of people around. It's always fun to window shop. But my favorite place to go shopping and to look around is Bergdorf Goodman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Great windows.
Oh, I watched the guy who was in charge of the windows do a show on Sunday morning with, I think this was back when Charles Corral was doing it. And I thought, oh, and I always told everybody, oh, if I could just hang out with that guy for one day, I actually did window dressing for a bookstore I worked in, and I really enjoyed it. It's hard work. And I can't even imagine. There's our art installations. Those aren't just window dressing. They're actually full-blown teamwork art installations. And
there's a wonderful documentary about the windows at Bergdorf. I can't remember the name of it.
I've seen it. It's really good. They have a storehouse for all that stuff. And years ago, and we're going to be watching, I'm not sure if we're watching that one. Are we watching the Doris Day film where she's an interior decorator?
Let's see.
Which one are we watching?
But yes, we're seeing Pillow Talk, and Pillow Talk is that's next week, and that's when she is the interior designer and does a wicked thing. Well,
when she did that wicked thing to his apartment when I was a little girl, you will remember how Dolly Parton saw the town's blonde-haired, ruby-lipped woman, the woman of ill repute.
Yeah,
and Dolly fixated on her and said, I want to look
town tramp.
Well, I hate to say that, but I was the same way. When I saw that apartment that she did for Rock Hudson, I wanted it.
It was lovely.
It had an Egyptian sarcophagus in it. It was so gaudy and wonderful. I said, and that's pretty much what I've created here. I mean, I just put out everything that I love. And I've been downsizing this week so I'd have more, you can see more, I've cleaned out a lot of different things, but I'm not getting rid of my collections because, and did I tell you I found a cicada shell?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I was walking out to get a dresser out of the back of my car. And when I went up the boardwalk, I felt something fall on my shoulder, and it was a locust shell. And so I brought it in and I made this little art piece that I'm going to send to you. And
Oh,
yeah, it's got the cicada shells on it. I'm gonna
that
have
has
to,
to be good luck. A cicada
uh,
falling out of a
it
cicada
just,
shell
I think
falling
it
out of the
fell
sky.
off of a tree onto my shoulder. And I looked down and I said, oh my gosh, it's a sign. And then you did your cover today.
Yes.
I pay attention to those kind of things. So I brought it in. Okay, I got to show you what it is. You're going to go, how I'm going to mail it to you. I'm going to probably have to give it to you in person. Okay. Okay, I do these little art pieces that are nature finds. But this
Oh, look, that is
sits on the
lovely.
counter and it's made with forest mosses, wild mushrooms, and it's got two little,
Beautiful. I love
and
that.
it's all debugged and sealed and everything. But you can just put it in some place in your home.
That is
That's
so
just
lovely.
so
I'll
that'll
put it,
be it, some.
I'll,
I got to figure out how to get it to you without, those things are so delicate.
I'll put it in my, I'll put it on my writer's desk.
Perfect. But it's just, I may find a few more, but it's just something that I did. But this locust shell that fell down today, it was really strange. So if everybody can see this little thing, but it's meant to just set, on this, just sit down on a counter. It's
It's
not meant,
lovely.
you could hang it on a wall.
You could, yeah.
It's a little gesso box that I did. So anyway,
Pretty.
did that for you. It
Thank
was
you.
something, no, it was just something that I, sometimes do. And I'm really excited about your book coming out and everything. And I'm really had fun watching this film. And I think everybody who does watch it, I don't know where you watched it, but I watched it on YouTube.
Um, I think Voodoo.
Did you? Because it
Yeah.
wasn't on Netflix. I was going to go check Hulu and I thought, I'll just check and just sometimes those older movies are on YouTube. And since that's where my channel is, I thought I'll go on there and I watched it and I was just really taken with the story. So next week, is it Pillow Talk we're watching?
Pillow Talk. Doris still
Oh,
Rock
well,
Hudson.
I've got plenty of pillows. So we'll have our pillow talk moment and I will pretend to be, well, I am a decorator. I
You
mean,
are a decorator.
absolutely. And, you can be your suave Rock Hudson self. So we will have a lot of fun with that. And we will be watching 2 back-to-back Doris Days, Pillow Talk. And then the next one,
Move
that one
over,
was with
Gwaltney.
Rock Hudson. The next one's going to be with my other favorite actor in the whole wide world, who hails from Norman, Oklahoma. And everybody always thought my dad looked like him because my dad had curly hair like him. And I'm really excited to watch it because it's a real comedy, and it's got some great. I don't know who wrote that, but I'm gonna have to really pay attention. So for those who haven't seen the Neil Simon based play film, Barefoot in the Park, you've got to watch it. And if I were you, I'd probably get you a bottle of bubbly because the whole time I was watching that film, I just had this just urge to drink. They're just drinking like mad in this film. And my parents were of that era where everybody drank scotch. Scotch.
I've never, you know what? I've never had scotch. I don't have a clue what it tastes like.
I like it. But I'll tell you, there's an old saying that scotch makes you smart. Because
Oh,
when you drink it, you think you're the most brilliant person in the world. And it's true. It's like the perfect drink if you're wanting to intellectualize some conversation, because pretty soon you believe you're it tastes good to me. It's pretty smooth. So you'll have to try it. And this is the film to make you want to do it. So, well, thank you for joining me, Robert. And you have
my
a good
pleasure.
night. Hopefully, my allergies will be back.
Yeah, I feel better soon.
Oh my goodness. And I used to have really problems back when I was in Kansas. I've never really had that kind of problem here, but I think this year, because of all the rain and mold and stuff in the air, this has been a different year. It's been very different. And then everybody out on the coast is saying, send the rain here. We're about to burn up. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I think we are going to have a August full of storms. So take care. Have a wonderful night, and we will see you at the movies next week.
See you
Okay?
next time.
All right. Bye bye
Bye
for
bye.
now. See you, everybody.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Night.